Hello, peoples. I just got done watching Captain America Brave New World. I know I've taken a step back from doing trailer reactions, so when we have a big movie like that, usually I feel like you guys know my preconceived notions going in. Unless if you follow me on Twitter, you guys don't know. I'll just say my preconceived notions was I didn't have very high expectations. I thought the trailers were edited really well, but I also thought they were edited so well it kind of became obvious that they were trying to cover up that this movie wasn't going to be great. Now that I have seen the movie, yeah, it's about what I expected, unfortunately. The reviews, honestly, the initial reviews had me thinking that I was gonna like it less than I did. So that's a good thing. But yeah, let's dive into this. You can't really talk about this movie without kind of theorizing about the reshoots that they had, because apparently this had basically a production nightmare of reshoots. It's pretty obvious, I think, particularly at one moment at the third act where things are falling into play and it's two actors and they're against a green screen, and it's the most pretty much obvious thing I've ever seen, because it's like exposition's being dumped as something else is happening, and then basically this character needs this push to go to that place, and it feels so awkwardly written and acted to the point where it feels like it's a band-aid over something else. Before I get deep into like my issues with this movie, I just want to say, come on, Marvel. Like, I really feel like these reshoots that we keep on doing are making legitimately worse movies just because you're too concerned whether the audience is laughing enough or if the audience is able to follow it. Because everything in this movie feels, yes, it's very simple plot, easy to follow. I just wish that the studio would honestly be like, okay, people watching these movies have been watching Marvel for a while. Honestly, the kids that you're concerned about don't really care. They just want to see some good action. So please just service us fans and give us a smart, intelligent political thriller. Captain America, at the end of the day, it's a kids movie. It's not going to necessarily go super deep into politics like some critics are acting like it should. At the same time, I wish it had a little bit more intelligence. Like, and I'm just asking for like Winter Soldier level espionage type of political thriller type of elements, and that's not even that deep. But I will have to say though, yes, the political elements should have been stronger in this movie. Some people are acting like it needed to be like super complex and intellectual, and I'm like, that it's a Marvel movie. Come on, guys. But anyway, let's talk about this movie. My biggest issue with this movie, and why I think the biggest issue was the reshoots, is that this movie consistently pulls focus on something and then goes on and does something else. And what I mean by that is when the movie starts out, there's this incident, and you see it in the trailer with the president and Isaiah. That's in the trailer. We know that happens, and I think that's a strong emotional hook for the start of the film, where Sam is kind of be like, look, this is not exactly the way that it seems, and then Sam's trying to prove like, hey, he didn't actually do this. And I thought that was a good hook because I think it's a great story for Captain America. It's a perfect Captain America story, and I just thought, okay, that's a good start. And I was actually pretty excited for the movie from now on, because I thought they found a grounded way to get politics, grand scale politics, and mix with a personal type of Captain America story, and I thought that was great. And then the movie started doing something else. And then I go, okay, well, we still need to, kind of get justice for Isaiah. But then it kind of just forgets about that. The movie kind of becomes about something else. And then after that, the movie also then becomes something else again. And then by the time you get to the movie, it just feels like the main inciting incident of this movie is just an afterthought. It legitimately feels like by the time you get to the end of the first 30 minutes of the movie, the actual personal issue of this is solved. And it is just put on autopilot to actually be resolved at the very end of the movie. It's very frustrating because it felt like and I go based off my experience with movies, how I feel going throughout. I'm not looking at going, oh, the structure and pacing is weird. I mean, yes, I will notice that as an emotional reaction to things, but I'm not like going like Mr. Timing of like this point of the movie, this should be happening. I really go based off my emotions and what I'm experiencing. And I was really wanted to feel the emotion towards Isaiah's story, because that's something that Falcon and the Winter Soldier set up really well. I think they set it up well in this movie, whether you watch that show or not. And another issue I want to quickly bring up is that I feel like Sam had a lot to emotionally tackle in Falcon and the Winter Soldier. And while I understand this isn't a TV show, you can't have television depth in this, Sam's doesn't really feel like he was doing much. Besides surface level of the plot and, this is right, this is wrong type of dialogue. But besides that, it didn't really feel like he had much to tackle with in this movie. And I really wish that the movie kind of leaned a little bit more into the politics. Like, I know at the last episode of Falcon and Winter Soldier, it got a little overly preachy, but it felt like this movie, even though it's a political thriller, it didn't really message heavy with its politics. And that's fine. It did like, the surface type of breezy type of we'll get through it without getting yelled at type of politics in this. I wish that it did something more, a little bit more consistent with what Falcon and the Winter Soldier set up, because particularly since we have a lot of the same writers here from that show, and it feels like, I honestly feel like they got the wrong message from the criticisms that finale got, particularly. The action in this movie was, I found myself at moments going like, that was cool, but it was honestly grasping for straws at certain moments. Like, there's cool moments with the shield doing flippity things, cool moments where a shot was pretty well done, but it was just too far between for me to go like, yeah, the action in this was really fun. There are some moments where it goes for a real grit, and there's only one real moment where it works, I think, and it's almost a direct callback to something that happened with Samuel L. Jackson in Winter Soldier. Unfortunately, this movie as a whole, with its sloppy plot, lackluster execution, I just can't help but feel I just watched Timu's version of The Winter Soldier. Another big issue I want to get on is like, well, like I said, there's this setup with Isaiah's character that would have a lot of strong emotional drive for Sam. After that part of the plot is just done but not resolved, Sam just feels like he just doesn't really have much urgency. Like, yes, there is urgency in his performance, but it doesn't feel like the personal urgency is there. It felt like, yes, Sam needs to save, politics of, make sure everybody gets along and make sure that, president's safe, that type of stuff, but it never felt personal to the point like what it felt like for Steve Rogers. And I know that's, obviously we can't necessarily compare them because they're two different people. When it comes to the spirit of a Captain America film that it should have, yes, Sam checks the boxes well, but the script didn't. His delivery and his performance is not Anthony Mackie's fault. I think he did great jobs with what he had to work with, and my favorite moments of the entire movie is moments at the beginning and the end where he actually felt like Sam Wilson. The green screen, there's a really bad CGI in this. It's not awful. I've seen worse from Marvel movies, but there's a moment at the end of the movie this is a different moment than I was talking about where I thought something was obviously a reshoot. I'm talking about a moment at the very end of the movie, during the big Red Hulk action sequence where Sam is talking. You'll know it when you see it. It's one of the worst green screens I've ever seen in Marvel history. Like, alongside with Quantumania moments, it's not as bad as that, but I would say it's in the same realm, unfortunately. I do want to talk about this because it's my favorite element of the movie, and that's Harrison Ford as Red Hulk. I thought he was great. I really think he had that energy that I wanted in the movie, and he had that angry president type of conflictness that you would want to build the tension of this film really well. He definitely brought the right energy, but the film's story did not match that at all, and it just suffers so poorly from these reshoots. And the whole thing is, like, Marvel could easily the next day say there was no reshoots in this movie that's above typical. It's just so obvious where the patches are on this project. This review kind of turned into a rant, and I'm talking more about my negatives than I am my positives. But I will say, like, it wasn't super boring. I got through the movie perfectly fine. I saw some critics say they were bored out of their mind. I wasn't. I appreciated them going for a more serious tone, and I thought that the jokes on this were, there were moments where it happened, but it was pretty and not overly like jamming a joke in there every 2 seconds. So I definitely appreciated them trying to go a little bit more serious, and like I said, I thought the pace to the movie was fine. I think it flowed decently, like as you expect any movie to kind of just get through the notions. But that's also my problem with the movie. It just feels like it's just getting through the notions. It felt like they just wanted to get this movie done. One big praise I see is that people are saying it's finally getting grip of the MCU and taking it towards one direction. And I agree with that. It feels like they're taking the consequences from the other films that haven't necessarily been either tied up, or characters from other things, and just kind of bunching them together and trying to like fold everything together again and to make it feel like you're watching one cohesive universe. But at the same time, it feels like it's doing that at the expense of this movie. And so hopefully this is the last bad step that Marvel takes for a while. I really, really hope Thunderbolts is great. I really liked the trailer to Thunderbolts, all of them. So I really, really hope that Thunderbolts is good. I'm holding out hope, and hopefully that movie delivers. And then we have Fantastic Four. If Thunderbolts doesn't deliver, the Fantastic Four is like sincerely like, if this doesn't deliver, I don't think anything will from after this. I'm going to give Captain America Brave New World a 4.6 out of 10. I didn't want to give the score. I expected this wouldn't be good, but at the same time, I was holding out hope that maybe that the trailer actually did reflect the quality of the movie, because like I said, I liked the trailer, just thought it was kind of, patching it up though. And unfortunately, my instincts on that were kind of correct. Comment down below what you guys thought of Captain America Brave New World. Hopefully people are like this more than I did. I do hope that audiences like this because, like I said, I like the darker tone that they're going for. Everything doesn't have to be a joke 24/7. And yes, there's comedy, and definitely there's a good amount of Marvel comedy in this, but not nearly as much as normal. So hopefully, if this gets good audience scores, at least Marvel could take away that thinking, you know what, maybe we don't have to be throwing jokes out every 5 seconds. So if any good comes of this, that's it. Like, share, subscribe, and stuff like that. And adios.